fine. So we're going to start off by introducing ourselves in a slightly, maybe not traditional way. So so I'm going to ask, what did you want to do when you were young? Was it IT? And okay, let's start with that. So what did you do? What did you want to do when you were young?
Well, well, for me, I studied electronics, so building small radios, amplifiers, radio transmitters. So when I was young, I liked that part. But during my study, I developed, or I came into contact with C, the C programming language. So I turned more from building stuff to building also stuff, but building stuff with software.
Okay.
Well, when I was young, I was like to do stuff with electronics.
Okay, fine. And Rik, how about you?
Well, in high school, I thought I would wanted a career in the police, but then that was the end of the 1970s. And if you look in the history books, you will find that back then you had quite huge riots in Amsterdam. And then one day there was a photo on the front page of the newspaper of a policeman who was hit by a brick. And then I thought, I don't know if that's a good career. And then I was interested in computers, and remember in the end of the 1970s, computers meant mainframes because there was not much else. Yeah. So my mother saw an ad in the newspaper asking for computer programmers. And I simply applied, being an 18-year-old high school graduate. And I started my career as computer programmer, and then later in the evening I did some bachelor studies. So basically I've never done anything else than IT stuff.
Okay, fine. So you're two IT guys. Okay, I have the opposite experience. I really never ever knew what I wanted to do. People used to keep asking me, "What do you want to do when you grow up?" And I never could answer. I used to say things like astronaut, racing car driver, the usual, but like just to answer. And the only thing I knew once I went to university and did geography and geology or something really weird, and we had these IT subjects, and I really hated it. Really, like I couldn't do it and I really hated it. But once I left university, I realized that there was no jobs for a geologist or a geographer. So I ended up doing IT anyway. So I was kind of like, as always, getting accidentally on the way. Okay, so what in your career has been the most interesting or satisfying project you've done?
Most satisfying project? Well, a project that I still often refer to is a project where I was the project manager, and the project was successfully completed within time and budget. But what helped was that I also was the main worker in the project. So I basically had to manage myself and my environment. But that was a good thing. I can still tell that I did a project within time and budget, and that's relatively rare in IT. And I still feel partially ashamed if I'm involved in a project that is not running on time and budget. And that's also one of the reasons why I became very much into quality and testing, because often it has to do with organizing your quality well.
Okay.
And Dennis?
Yeah, thank you for giving me the time to think about the project. I did a project, I think it's over 20 years ago. I was working for a car leasing company, and that project was about, that car leasing company acquired another car leasing company, and all the clients, customer contracts, and all that data should be transferred into the main system. And it was a really challenging system. It was time consuming. Really, I worked late hours, but it was really rewarding. And at that time, because I'm currently not doing, I'm not working as a software tester, but I'm now working as an architect, but at that time, I was still working as a software tester. And I had really good memories about that project.
Okay. Well, nice.
And you, Phil, what was your most rewarding project?
I think the most rewarding projects are the hardest ones. There was one project I did which was 3 years of extremely hard work, and it did go live after I finished. It was like a huge project, and even though I'd actually left the project before they went into production, they invited me back, and I visited the pilot branch, and I saw the system being used for the first time. So it was very late. It was horrible quality. It was horribly over budget. So it was basically everything wrong in terms of what we're going to talk about today. But it was very, very satisfying because we made it somehow, and it was, again, the people around it, I think, that made it the most enjoyable experience, because it's experiences you shared over 3 years, which lasts forever. So that for me is my probably most satisfying project, for all the wrong reasons, I would say, actually. So okay, so Rik, you're a software tester. You're famous, I guess. Yeah. Can you tell us how many books you've written about software testing, how many testing awards you've won, and how many conferences you've spoken at? Do you know the numbers, or is it just too many to remember?
Well, I know the number of books that I contributed to, and that is 25 books, and there are 6 books where my name appears on the cover. And that is all happened in, a little over 25 years. The first books that I worked on was the late 1990s. And what were the other questions? Awards, yeah. Awards, there are things that just happen to you, because you don't have to do anything special to get an award. You just have to live your passion for long enough, is my experience. So I've been focusing on quality and testing for more than 25 years now. And 3 years ago, ISTQB awarded me their Testing Excellence Award. And 2 years ago, Eurostar awarded me their Testing Excellence Award. And actually, the combination of having both awards is quite rare, because somebody looked it up and told me that there's only 5 people in the world that have both of them. So yeah, I'm generally quite modest about it, but especially my manager tells me that I shouldn't be modest about something like this. How many conferences have I visited? I haven't even counted, but I enjoy sharing knowledge, and therefore I enjoy conferences. Also, I enjoy traveling, so therefore I like conferences in other countries. And luckily, I get invited once in a while, or I send proposals and they select me. And for me, it's mainly the software testing conferences or quality conferences. And because you also do totally different conferences, the development conferences.
Yeah. The DevOpses in Belgium are really famous, or the Java ones. But it is a little bit, it's hard to get on the stage over there. Call for papers with over 3,000 call for papers that they can select. So it's a little bit harder, but once in a while you get selected. Yeah.
Sometimes we from the testing and quality community, we think Eurostar is a big conference with 1,000 attendees, but then how many are at DevOps?
I think over 3,000.
Yeah. So yeah.
Okay.
But the good thing is there you can share the story of quality as well amongst the developers.
You can share, I think, all stories which are related to software engineering. So it doesn't matter if it is it quality or software engineering, like the real coding, or is it the methodology or some tools. You can share, a lot of topics over there.
Okay, so Rik, you're the tester, and Dennis, you're the DevOps guy. Could we call you that, or you are?
Well, I'm now more the architect, but I have several roles within Society. But I'm guiding the teams, and I have more than one customer which I serve. and it's now mainly as an architect, solution architect.
Yeah, and when we were writing this book, so we asked Dennis and Berend to join because of their, let's say, dev background, and that worked pretty well because, of course, the book is about cross-functional teams, so people with different backgrounds working together. So we thought, as a authors team, we also need cross-functional people. So yeah. We looked around and we joined forces.
Okay, so let's move slowly towards quality engineering and the book. But the first thing I'd like to maybe ask about is, on the book cover is something called TMAP. And I think most people, certainly in our region, TMAP is not familiar. So Rik, maybe just give us a brief introduction to what TMAP is.
Well, then I will start with a very new item, because this week it was decided that we will officially celebrate 30 years of TMAP in mid-April. And also, Phil, you will get an invite for the online meeting around that. Everybody in the special interest group will. So, I hope this invite gets out next week. But so TMAP exists for 30 years, and in this, it started off as an approach for testing, and gradually it grew towards what it is today, a body of knowledge for quality engineering and testing. And we used to joke that TMAP was world famous in the Netherlands, because that is what happened in, well, the first 2 decades. But especially after we published the Quality for DevOps Teams book, it became adopted much more broadly. So, for example, for the TMAP training courses, we have accredited trainers in at least 10 different countries now. And we have people with TMAP certificates on all continents except for Australia. So that's what we are still aiming for, to get people interested in Australia as well. But we do have all the other continents. So it's quite broadly spread, but not too well known. On the other hand, an interesting fact about TMAP is that it is one of the things that was used when ISTQB was founded. So a lot of knowledge that ISTQB is based on comes from TMAP. And that is not surprising, because ISTQB exists for 20 years and TMAP for 30, so TMAP was already around.
I didn't realize that TMAP was 10 years older than ISTQB. I knew it was older than ISTQB, but I didn't realize it was by so much. That's interesting. Huh?
Yeah.
And if you were to compare TMAP and ISTQB, people will know ISTQB. What is there some difference between the two, or how would you?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think there are 2 main differences. So one difference is how it all started. So TMAP started with a bunch of people that thought we need to get all this knowledge together so that we can share the knowledge and people can benefit. So they started writing a book. And then when the book was out, people said, oh, can we be trained in this? And they made training courses. And later people said, oh, maybe it would be nice if we can also get a certificate. And then they created some exams. So it started all from the knowledge perspective. ISTQB started totally the opposite way. They started with, people need certificates. So we're going to make exam syllabi. And then people need training courses to pass the exam. And then maybe we should write books for people to have these training courses. So ISTQB started from the perspective that people need certificates. And therefore, until today, unfortunately, ISTQB still doesn't have a body of knowledge. So ISTQB itself only has syllabi. Other people write some books. Some very good, by the way, some a little less. But it's not an integrated body of knowledge. And of course, ISTQB is working towards that for quite some time already. So with ISTQB, the focus is mainly on passing exams, whereas with TMAP, the focus is mainly on improving IT in general. Then, of course, you can look at the contents. TMAP today focuses very much on what we call high performance IT delivery. So that is Agile, Scrum, DevOps, fully integrated. And ISTQB, being a very large international organization, moves somewhat slower. So ISTQB is currently developing a syllabus around DevOps. And I know about it because actually I'm on the work group creating that syllabus, because people noticed that we wrote a book 5 years ago, and then they asked, can you join us and can you help us? So again, TMAP is used to support the knowledge in ISTQB, which is a great thing because ISTQB and TMAP are very well complementary. Yeah? So they add to each other. And yeah, that's a good thing.
Okay.
Now I lost. Did I answer your question?
I think you did. I think you did. Yeah.
Okay. Very good.
Yes. And now I'd like to get to the topic we all want to talk about, which is quality engineering. Like I've been in software for a long time, and Rik, you've been in software testing even longer, and I started to recognize this thing called quality engineering maybe about 2 years ago. When did you start to recognize that there was something?
Well.
A quality engineering type thing.
Yeah, we were writing the book in 2019, and that was one of our colleagues, Mark. He came and he said, "Hey guys, there's this term quality engineering. What is it about?" And we said, "We never heard of it." So we started investigating what is it, and people were using quality engineering, and we asked, "What's the definition?" And there was no definition. So one of the things we did writing our book is create a definition of quality engineering. And today, because like you say, you noticed the quality engineering a few years ago, and today everybody is talking about quality engineering. But yeah, 5 years ago it was very new, and you are dying to add something.
No, go ahead.
Oh, one thing is that some people now just use quality engineering as a fancy name for testing. And that's not what it is. It's so much more. So therefore, we made a definition of quality engineering that says, I'll use a little help now because it is a long definition and I know the words in it, but so it starts with that quality engineering is about collaboration. So it is about team members and stakeholders, so the people outside of the team, taking joint responsibility, and they take responsibility to deliver IT systems with the right quality at the right moment. Because one of the things we were thinking is often you see people talking about highest quality. But in many situations, you don't need the highest possible quality. You rather have just enough quality at a good moment, because highest quality often takes way too long. So quality engineering is also about finding balance. And another thing is quality engineering is about applying quality measures. And that's all sorts of activities that you can do to make sure that you have the right quality at the right moment. So basically, quality engineering is collaboration on right quality at the right moment by applying quality measures. And only one of the quality measures is testing. But there are many more quality measures. For example, quality measures that development people apply. So
yeah, but for me, so quality engineering was pretty new, or the terminology was not defined yet. And I think nowadays, if we are mentioning here quality engineering, people say, yeah, I know, I think I know what you mean. So for me, it means it's the next level in quality, or we are making the next level in quality. So also the engineers are applying quality engineering, or they tend to say, oh, I build a unit test. Because that's not the only thing they should do.
And one fun thing about quality engineering is that the term is relatively new, but the concepts behind it exist for decades.
Yeah.
And the only thing is, not everybody applies all these concepts. Eh?
No, and I think especially for developers, it's really hard to get their mind on quality engineering, because they like to build stuff, but they don't like to build stuff with the right quality. Or they like to do that, but they cannot prove it to me that they build it with the right quality. So that's what we are trying to get between their ears. Show what you did, show it with unit tests, show it with integration tests, document the stuff, because it's not only about testing, but also about what you are doing during the design phase, but also afterwards, what you are that you can measure the stuff that you have built, like the observability. That's, for me, it's the whole overarching thing is quality. So it's not only unit testing or integration testing.
Yeah, and also, so we focus not just on the quality of the product, but also the process and the people. Because often if your product is not good enough, you can improve it by improving the process and the people. And that, by the way, is why the very first picture in the book it is the picture where we say quality relates to products, processes, and people. Yeah, one of well, now before we start another thread, yeah, as you can see, we can tell hours about all these things, but maybe you want to keep some structure in this webinar.
I'm trying, but like one of the things you said there is certainly, maybe I can't remember when exactly, but I was talking to people and I was hearing on conferences, like I was obviously networking on conferences, talking to many people, and you start hearing things like, oh, we have teams without testers, and I was going, how is that possible? How can you have a team without testers? And at that stage, I was like, it's my job for 20 plus years. It's my business for 10 plus years. I haven't paid my mortgage for my house yet. So what am I going to do? No more testers. And then when you begin to those conversations, say, so there's the people who used to do testing, they got fired. I said, no, they're in the team. And they're working with the team. Why are they working with the team? Well, now the developers said that those guys have got the best context. They've got the quality mindset, but they're not doing software testing. The whole team is concerned with quality. And I'm stood there like with my eyes sticking out saying, what are you talking about? And then conversations with you and then reading the book and so forth, then I realized this thing called quality engineering. And when people ask me, and I say, oh, yeah, it's the shift left and it's all these good things. It's like building quality in and all this. And everyone says, oh, yeah, we know all that. These are all old ideas. And exactly you say, like, yes, there are a lot of old, very good ideas that have been around for a very, very long time, but nobody uses them or just don't use them consistently or like enough, I would say. And I think that's the main thing. There's nothing really new about it, but there seems to be now a realization that this is the way, I would say. Yeah, we've been struggling with quality, with delays, with over budget projects, with poor quality for a long time, and somehow now we've realized that this quality engineering mindset, I would like to say, rather than more than anything else, is the thing. But maybe it's a question to Dennis. Where do you think this is coming from? Why suddenly are people saying, yes, this is going to work, this is going to help us? Do you think this is some trend or coming from some part of?
I think that developers want to be busy with building innovative stuff. They want to develop stuff, but they don't want to do it only once. And now they are realizing if I'm not applying quality engineering in my day-to-day work, I have to do the same stuff that I did today. I had to do it tomorrow again, because then somebody detects that I did not deliver with the right quality. So they are now thinking, if I build it with the right quality, then I can do tomorrow another amazing new innovation. Or I'm busy with AI, because that's also today everybody's doing AI. yeah, also developers and also testers. I think it will. We will talk about this also in this webinar, I guess, because we cannot avoid it. And I got lost of your question, but
well, I think to add, one of the other reasons why developers are more into quality is because with DevOps, you have the shared development and operations responsibility in the team. So in the old days, if the software didn't work and the system crashed at Sunday night, then the ops guys were called and they had to get out of bed and had to fix it. And nowadays, the whole team, including the developers, get called out of bed and they think, oh, but it's also in my own interests to have better quality.
And it is a shared responsibility. If the team say, okay, I'm going to develop this feature, it's not only development, it's also delivering that feature with the right quality, because you're committing to something in a sprint. And that is a shared responsibility. So it's not only developer which is throwing it over a fence or over a wall to a tester. No, the tester is in his team. And we should deliver it in time with the right quality.
Yeah. Yeah, and you were also mentioning, Phil, that no more testers in the team. And basically, we, from the perspective of what we wrote in the book, we say, you do not really need testers in your team, but you need test capabilities in your team. Yeah. So if the people in the team together have all the knowledge and skills to get the right level of quality and to prove that they have the right level of quality, that's fine. However, we see over and over again, if you want to have the right level of skills and knowledge about quality and testing in the team, the best way to do that is make sure that there is at least one person who is very good at it. Somebody who might be called a tester. Yeah. And the funny thing I see is that we sometimes see organizations, and actually I'm currently doing training courses for one, where somebody in management was to the wrong seminar and they heard no more testers needed, so they fired all the testers. And now we educate the remaining team members in testing, but they never say fire all the programmers. And I'm still very much surprised that some people think that you can fire part of the people in the team and have to keep other part in the team. But yeah, the only reason I can imagine why they have this sort of decisions is that they figure testers never make anything that goes live. But that doesn't mean they don't do useful things. That's the big misconception.
Yeah. And this is also my conversations about quality engineering. Maybe I missed when I said I talked to people that had a team with no testers. As I said, the testers were there, but they were no longer the testers because everyone was testing. Yeah. And when I talk about those conversations, even with my own team in Tesena, like the first reaction is, okay, we're going to lose our jobs because they don't need testers anywhere. And I've had maybe conversations in some large organizations where they're talking about software engineering, and software engineering means no testers, because the developers will test. And I think that's definitely not the case. I was saying, like, you should turn this feeling of fear that you're going to lose a job, you should turn it around and see it as an opportunity, because instead of just doing testing and being the one that does the testing, then you can also be involved in other things which you can add value to.
We have seen something similar with the role of test manager. So when Agile came, everybody said no more test managers needed. And what we now see is there is almost more demand for test managers than ever before, because if you have multiple teams working together, then you need to do some kind of end-to-end testing, and none of the teams can do that on their own. So you need somebody to organize that. And that, by the way, is why we have the so-called organizing topics in TMAP that are all about the things you need to do for multiple teams.
Yeah. Okay, and if I come back to the book now, because what's fascinating for me is you are writing a book about quality for DevOps Teams, yeah? And then you realize that there's this thing, or you asked the question about what is quality engineering. At that moment, did you try and find some development guys to try and work on this thing together? Or was that before?
No, because we were already working on quality engineering. The only thing is we didn't know about the term quality engineering, but we had the idea, and that is a nice thing if you see the development of TMAP over the years. When it started, it was just about doing proper testing and making using test design techniques, making test cases. That was the focus in 1995. But in 2006, one of the most influential TMAP books came out called TMAP Next, which was not the most, how do you say, innovative title, but and with TMAP Next, they introduced the idea of that it is all about quality and the related risk. So testing is not about finding problems. Testing is about getting information, what the quality level is, what the risk level is. And if the quality level is high enough and the risk level is low enough, then it's good. And based on that idea, which was 2006, we continued working, and then Agile became a big thing. So in 2014, we had a TMAP book that was focusing on the Agile approach. And to bring that further, we thought in 2019, we said we need to write, we need to really jump to the new era, which is the era of high performance IT delivery with Scrum and DevOps. And we need to rethink how everything goes. And Dennis has found the page with our topics because that was one of the big discussions. So I think in our kickoff meeting in where was it, in a hotel somewhere in Leusden?
Oh, it was in the office in Amersfoort.
Yeah, oh yeah, in Amersfoort we had a lot of discussion about this.
Yeah, and especially about, is a topic an organizing topic or a performing topic? Because you can debate about it. I think we can talk about this topic 8 hours, but you can debate about those topics even longer.
And still, you can still debate about our thing. So maybe for the audience, because some may not know what we mean with topics. So Dennis is now showing the page from the book where we have the topics, and the background story to these topics is in TMAP, in the TMAP Next book, so the previous big book, there were seven main activities. And in those main activities, to my surprise, there was not reporting as such. Reporting was hidden somewhere, but the main thing of testing is reporting about quality and risk. So I said to one of the original authors, hey, you have missed reporting. And he said, no, it's there. I said, yeah, I know where it's hidden, but you don't see it. And then he said, I can tell you more stuff that you cannot immediately see. And then we said, okay, well, let's make a list. And before we knew it, we had a list of more than 50 things. And then we said, okay, this is not going to work. So then we started grouping them. And when we grouped them, we ultimately came with these 20 topics. And then we said, okay, some of these topics are things that you do within one team. And we called them the performing topics. That's the things you actually do. And other topics are things you do overarching for multiple teams. For example, the first organizing topic is quality and test policy. Well, you wouldn't want every individual team to make a policy. That's not the idea of a policy. It should be overarching. So that's an organizing topic. And then, like Dennis said, we have debated a lot because, for example, in the organizing topics, we have estimating and planning. And then people argue, yeah, but in your team, you need to make an estimate for your sprint, for example. And that is true. On the other hand, if teams need to work together, you would like all teams to work to do their estimation in a compatible way so that you can aggregate your estimates to an overarching level. So that's why it still is put in the organizing group. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tooling
is, of course, another one. Tooling, you can, if I look to the Dutch companies, they are having a kind of freedom, all the teams, and they're choosing their own tools. But ideally, you don't want this because you get, you have to share knowledge over all the teams with all those different nitty-gritty tools.
Yeah, and when people move from one team to another team, they have to learn new tools, and you have a huge maintenance challenge.
Yeah.
So that's also why we put tooling in the organizing group.
Yeah.
So that you think about tooling, because we don't want to limit people, but we want to support the collaboration between teams.
Okay. For me, it was interesting how, like, when I read the book, you've created a structure. You've taken what's happening out there in the world and you've created around it a structure. And I was fascinated by how you came to that structure. Because, for example, the voice model, it's new for me. I never saw that before. Where did you get the voice model from? Yeah. So how did that evolve?
Well, Dennis shows the voice model. Well, how did the voice model start? Well, we were discussing that. I think it started with the notion that business value is the most important thing in IT. Because we don't do IT because it's our hobby, because it may be our hobby, but still people don't pay for your hobby. They pay because they want to have business value. And IT is there to support getting the business value. So we started with value. And then we said, okay, if you know the value that is in the realm of business delivery, it basically has nothing to do with IT. And then IT needs to support that business value. So you need to achieve some goals. And we call those goals objectives. So that's the O in voice. And then we said, you want to know if you are going towards that value and these objectives. So you need to measure something. What do you need to measure? You measure indicators. So that's the I in the word voice. And then measuring these indicators, it's mainly done by testing. So testing is still part of the whole quality engineering concept. And then if you have done your tests and you get information about the quality and the risks, then your stakeholder, for example, the product owner, they can determine if they have confidence that they will get this business value. So confidence is a very important thing. And this is the C in voice. And when they have enough confidence, then we can go live with whatever we made. And that may be a very small change or a huge new implementation. That really doesn't matter for the model. And when it goes live, the users experience the real value. And often when they experience the real value, they get ideas for more value. And that's what we call the value improvement loop. So the voice model is value, objectives, indicators, confidence, and experience. And it evolved during the meetings we had as an author team. And actually, one of the fun things, I don't know if you remember, but initially we had voice without the E at the end. We had only VOIC. And then I was talking with one of our directors, also one of our sponsors of the book, and he said, voice without an E, that doesn't sound well. You should put an E there. And then we said, oh, but of course you have to experience the real value. And that's how we came up with ultimately the voice idea.
It is an excellent concept. I'm currently working with a client, and the test managers are going, oh, we have these test levels and we have these test types. And I say, but like, what are we trying to achieve? And they said, oh, well, we're going to do some test levels. We'll do integration testing, and we'll do system testing and so forth, and we'll do some test types. And I'm going, but like, what are we trying to achieve? And I'm saying, we want to achieve that the business have confidence to decide it's going to go live. Yeah. So how do you do that? Oh, we have 0 priority 1 defects open. I said, no. no, that's not the confidence. Yeah. So it takes it out of this rather technical, mechanistic mindset that testing seemed to at some point got stuck into, and spins it around and say, what we're trying to do is exactly what we say. We're trying to provide information. I think you said it at the beginning, Rik, provide information that gives confidence that the decision makers can feel they can make the decision to go or not go live. Yeah. And that's the whole thing. So you really makes testing or what a quality assurance or quality engineering so much more interesting, because you can see you're trying to achieve something for somebody, you're delivering value for somebody, and you can start talking to those stakeholders in a completely different way. So I'm sitting with the senior business owner, I'm saying, our job is to provide you with confidence that when we put this live, that it's not going to blow up in your face. And you say, great, I like the sound of that. I'm suddenly talking to her like a human being rather than some technical tester. So for me, that's amazing. So if I was to ask you now to summarize for you, what are the key elements of quality engineering? What is quality engineering? If we're trying to summarize it in as a few points as possible, what do you think makes up quality engineering? It's a horrible question.
Well, it starts with collaboration between people. And one of the core concepts for quality engineering is cross-functional teams. So people with different backgrounds working together to achieve the goal. And I think another important thing in quality engineering is, like you already mentioned, the focus on business value. And to get business value, you need right quality at the right moment, because sometimes very bad quality today is the best way to get business value, because we want to go live with our website today, even though it doesn't work properly. And sometimes that's a good choice. It depends, of course, very much of the goal that you have. But I have once been, and this is quite some time ago, when mobile phones just became popular, I was involved in one of the new mobile providers, and they had a totally green field. So they had no customers at all. And they simply wanted to launch as quickly as possible to start making money. And they didn't care that the system hardly worked, because there were no customers anyway. And they knew that we would evolve the system. And by the time we had a reasonable number of customers, the system worked reasonably well. And when they had many customers, well, by that time, the system had evolved to be a good system. So that is one of the things I always remember, with the right quality at the right moment. You don't always need high quality. On the other hand, if you are building software for a nuclear power plant, well, you better spend a lot of effort and time on quality, because you don't want it to blow up.
But okay, you said it very well. So you're picking the terms from the definition. But for me, quality engineering, and I'm looking at it from a developer's perspective, is that you should have the right mindset. Because if you don't have the right mindset that you want to deliver quality, and I think that everybody wants to deliver quality, but quality engineering should be, in your mind. You should think about it every day, when you are building code, when you are writing code, when you are using your editor. I use my editor. So it's about the mindset. That's for me the most important thing when I think about quality engineering.
Yeah. Okay. And the feeling of also everybody's responsible for the quality, I think is the key thing. It's because you hear, unfortunately, I still hear, I ask the question, who's responsible for quality in this team? And they say, the testers. And I'm going, how is that possible? You develop the codes, guys, and you guys write the functional specifications. So if it's wrong, is it the tester's fault? And then they all go, no, it's everybody's fault. I said, yes, like a football team. It's not the goalkeeper's fault if somebody scores a goal. So that's the interesting thing. And in terms of, let's say you want to start in your team to start doing quality engineering, how would you go about it? You're maybe in an agile team that's still working pretty much in a waterfall mindset. It's like your silos of analysts and developers and testers working on things separately. So do you have any suggestions or recommendations of how to get started with quality engineering if you want to go that direction?
Well, if I'm talking within teams about quality engineering, that's why I mentioned mindset. Then I'm talking about that they should have the right mindset. So and I'm especially not saying that they should build unit tests, because I think it's way more unit tests, because that's the first thing they mentioned to me. Dennis, but I do unit tests, so I'm delivering quality. No, then you are delivering only a small bit of quality, and you are applying quality engineering only in a certain phase. But quality engineering is a really broad term, and they should apply it in the broadest way.
And also what you try to do is make them aware of multiple different possible quality measures that they can do. For example, I'm still surprised how many developers are reluctant to apply things like pair programming.
Yeah.
Because then some of them seem to feel like, yeah, but I want to build it myself. And others, they fear that somebody will say, you take too much time because you are two people working on one task.
Yeah, but nowadays they do pair programming with Copilot. Eh?
Yeah, that's true.
So
yeah, the
use
new
Copilot
Gen AI, that helps a lot, because then, it doesn't feel like a waste of time.
No.
And actually in software development, Copilot really is already a brilliant help. And in other quality engineering tasks, sometimes it can be helpful, sometimes it's rather disruptive. But
but the engineer should stay
in charge.
In charge, and they should think ahead of the AI.
Yeah, of course. And
AI
also
is telling
always
them right stuff.
review the results.
Indeed.
But that is.
But today I saw a movie of a child which was 8 years old, and she was talking to an LLM, and that LLM was building an application. So nowadays AI can do an awful lot.
Yeah.
Can build complete applications.
It's starting to look truly interesting, I have to say. I have also the feeling the last couple of months I'm starting to see things in my own experience. I'm not doing any testing or development using LLMs, but in my developing, I call it high-level bullshit around testing, it's really becoming very useful. If you learn how to use the tools, and the tools are getting better, it is quite amazing. So So I think the key thing here is the quality measures, because the book has quite a long. I'm not sure if is it in the book, or certainly it's on the TMAP website. There's the quality engineering strategy template. Everything's open source in TMAP. It's really nice.
And everybody can download it.
Of ideas of what you can do to build quality in, because the quality measures are preventative, detective, and corrective. And most of the quality measures there are actually the preventative ones. It's actually make sure the quality gets in from the beginning. So classics, and these are, again, not new ideas. Pair programming, XP, 1990s, reviews, even older, So it's all these good ideas that nobody does. So, but like you're in a team, want to do quality engineering, and what I hear is we don't have time for that stuff. Yeah. What do you think of that?
Yeah. When people complain about not having enough time, often it is management that complain that IT takes too long and they deliver too little and cost too much, etc. And when I am consulting with management, so I've been in several boardrooms, then one of the statements I now always make is simply, hey people, you want too much. Because that's the basic thing. They think anything is possible with IT, so we want everything. And that's not possible. We simply don't have enough IT people to make it all. The only thing is, IT people in general are very polite people, and they don't say, no, can't do it, but they say, okay, we'll try. And then they do some overtime and then they deliver something half working. And then everybody complains that it is bad quality. But it's basically they got too much workload.
Yeah.
So bad management.
And do you have any suggestions for how to get out of that?
Yeah, one of the
situation?
things to get out of that is to start discussing business value. Because often they want a lot of things. And one of the things I often say is, and I understand why some managers ask more than they need, because managers over the years have learned that if I need this much of IT, I will always get less. So you know what? I'll ask this much of IT. And then what will they deliver? They will deliver this much. So they will deliver the same amount that I initially needed, only I needed this and they delivered that. So there is some overlap, but also some gaps. And that's the big problem. So think back and start defining exactly what you need, make it as clear as possible, and then only develop what is needed and then demonstrate by testing that you actually build what they need. And then it would work. But it starts with what is the business value that we want to get. And another thing is that often, you know, the Pareto rule, the 80-20 rule, that 80% of the functionality takes 20% of the effort. And if it's exactly 80 and 20, I don't know, but the big chunk of functionality doesn't take too much time. And then all the little extras, they take huge amounts of time, and that's also where everything goes wrong. So most of the problems we find are in these nice to have features. So if you just skip the nice to haves, you have a lean and mean system for only a short or a small amount of the effort.
Yeah, I hope all the product owners will accept this.
Yeah, well, I know no, not all of them do.
No.
But this is one of the things we have to deal with.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, and sometimes they are stubborn, and then we say, okay, well. And I always hate to be the one saying, told you so, but sometimes I have the inclination to say that.
Yeah, but I think also teams say too easy, yes, we can. I think that we should push back more.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yes, we can, but
and to push back, it helps to define indicators to measure the business value. Yeah. So you say, what do you want? Okay, how can we measure that we give you what you want? And then they realize that it's actually quite hard to measure a vague requirement. And then we say, okay, maybe you first refine your requirement, make it smarter, so that we can measure if we achieve your requirement. And that is already the notion of quality that is needed to do proper quality engineering.
Okay, interesting. And if I quickly switch to the other idea we started at the beginning, the cross-functional team, which is autonomy. And we said we want to improve the quality of the people, the processes, and the product. Because you can't build a good product with bad processes and bad people. You can't build a good product. So when you're in quality engineering, you're looking to make improvements in people, products, and processes, which you do through continuous learning. And the other pushback I get when I talk about these ideas is like, management don't allow us to do anything like that. We don't get time to improve our processes or work on some self-development. Do you also get the same sort of feedback to the concept of the autonomous team can make their own decisions about how they're going to do things?
First, I would like to make a remark on the word autonomous. So I prefer to call them self-organizing, because autonomous teams, and I'm making it black and white on purpose now, but autonomous teams think they don't need to deal with anything else in the world. They are autonomous and they decide whatever they like to do. If you have self-organizing teams, they have to organize the process, including their relationship with the outside world, which is stakeholders, other teams, support users, whatever. So I prefer self-organizing. But back to your question, the trouble is indeed that some people, and let's again make a black and white example of product owners. Some product owners, they think the biggest value for the organization is in getting more features. In the end, the biggest value for an organization is to have a solid and stable support for their business process. So if you have a solid and stable IT system, that is of more business value than if you have a system with plenty of features that often fail.
Okay, interesting. So we need to deal with the product owners, obviously. We do these quality engineering workshops with agile teams, and we take them through a learning and improvement day. Yeah, we just do it in practice, and we get the product owner in there. And when the product owner has those conversations with the developers and the testers, and we've created this environment where everyone feels a little bit safe, with a little bit of psychological safety, people can actually start talking about things. We've had presentations at the end of the day from product owners saying, yes, I've realized that I can't push the team into doing everything I want. I need to discuss with the team what I want to do, and if they tell me it's not possible, or it'll break the architecture, or I'll do something else, we won't do it. And everybody in the team is like, yeah, because suddenly it's a team working together rather than a product owner driving a bunch of developers. So I say, we're saying black and white on product owners, but he's under pressure to deliver features from his boss, who's under pressure from his boss to deliver features. So there's a chain of command or whatever there that's creating this problem. And as you say, Dennis, they need to push back a little bit and say, no, that's not really, as you say, we're thinking about the value for our customers, for our clients, for our organization, then this is not the way. Yeah? We need to think about doing different ways. So speak up, I think, is the best approach.
I think it's also because if you are talking about improving code or your application, it's always hard to measure or say the value about refactoring or code improvement or quality improvement in general about your applications. It's always hard because they're always talking about business value, and thus because the code is working, we are delivering. The customer doesn't see any improvement if we are improving an algorithm or if we are improving our test suite. It's really hard to measure the business value and get that item on the sprint backlog. Okay. It's always a discussion with the product owner. Yeah. And I think that we should do that better.
But I think because now we're making it sound a bit negative, but I also have experiences with product owners who do get the idea, for example, of technical debt. You can explain to them that technical debt in the short term may seem like a nice thing because we quick and dirty build stuff, but in the long run, it's a bad thing. So if they understand that, then they will acknowledge that we need some time for improvement. And that is basically part of quality engineering, just following the normal agile principles of trying to continuously improve and adapt to what you need.
Yeah, indeed. And if you apply the Boy Scout rule, it doesn't take ages to improve your application. It can also be within 10 minutes. Just leave it cleaner behind than you found it. There are simple stuff. It's not that you should spend hours on it.
Yeah, and also it's part of it is just by practice what you preach and demonstrate to others that it works. Because so if you have a few people in your team that are an example to the others, it is already easier for the whole team to work in this way and value quality.
Also that applies for the team. There's a very interesting article by Martin Fowler. He's one of the signatures of the Agile Manifesto, and he had an article called Dark Scrum, and he was talking about this. We're trying to be agile, but the organization doesn't allow the team to work in an agile way. And he said, like, how do you get out of that? Well, you need to demonstrate to the organization as a team that it can work in a different way. So start making changes. Maybe don't tell anybody at first, but then show them the result. And what's the manager going to say if he sees a better result? He's going to say, great, do more. Yeah, that's what's going to happen. So I think this idea that I can't, in our culture, environment, whatever, in our organization, do these things is kind of like a non-argument. I think we can start to make changes and make a difference, and it does definitely probably make it more fun, because it's 8 to 10 people who have a clear goal, delivering value to customers. They're working together, they're discovering things together, they're learning things together, they're solving problems together, and they're working on different activities. It's the Toyota production line. There's it's not you, one person, doing the same thing all day. They have teams of 5 and they change roles during the shift so they don't get bored and they do different things. And this is why I'm saying for software testers, this is a great opportunity. You will be involved in doing different things and you'll get much better context. You'll see what's happening. You'll know what the goals are. You'll be able to influence the product backlog, whatever. You'll be there in those conversations.
You also are allowed to learn more, because one of the key concepts of a cross-functional team is that anyone in the team is basically allowed to pick up any task as long as they are capable of doing that task. But so in the beginning of a sprint, you often see a lot of focus on business analysis. Well, don't wait for the business analyst to do all these tasks, but take over the simple business analysis task and learn how to do it. And after some sprints, if the business analyst has a vacation, the other team members know enough to keep the ball rolling. And the same goes for development. And I have the advantage that I have been a developer for 10 years. But if now I see a small problem, I think often I can simply fix a small problem, even though I'm not capable of writing the whole software in these modern languages. And then you must know I'm a COBOL guy, which is still a language used.
Me too.
Yeah. Well, isn't that fun, Phil? When you and I learned COBOL, they already told us COBOL will be outdated very soon. And here we are decades later, and there are still new COBOL programmers trained. Yeah. But anyway, so as a tester, sometimes you just switch role and you do a little change in the software. And that can be done because in a proper DevOps team, you have the pipeline and you have the principle of branches. And then when you did a change, you have to do a pull request and somebody else checks your work. So the quality is guaranteed because people check each other's work. So it is safe in the team to sometimes do tasks that may not be your primary skill. And that makes makes the work more different and flexible, but also it makes the team more resilient, because if somebody of the team is not available, the team as a whole can still go forward.
That's a very nice point. I need to remember that one, that you're in a safe environment to learn. You can try new things and it's a safe environment to learn. Like, okay, you might fail, you might screw up, you might not do it well, but you've got one of your colleagues on the team which is going to check what you did and give you feedback and help you learn. It's a very natural and powerful way of learning. It's mentoring, is working with a mentor is one of the most powerful ways to learn, and you have a whole team who will help you with various different tasks. So that's a very good point.
And therefore also one of the main skills of people in a cross-functional team is curiosity. To be curious what other people in the team do and want to know more about it. And you don't need to become skilled in everything, but at least you need to be curious about everything. And
I know already 20 years ago when I was working at the car leasing company, I was already sneaking into the code when I was testing, and I found a bug. And then I was already pointing to the developer, okay, you should go to line 29. You missed something over there. And that's how I changed my role from tester to more software engineering or to development. But yeah, back in those days, I was already doing this. Yeah, and I
Well,
liked it.
And it's important to note it works the other way too. You're the software testing expert, yeah, and the team wants to do testing. Everybody wants to. You say unit testing, yeah, but what's the unit testing look like? You know, do you have some assertions in there? How are you checking it? You know, are you doing black box, white box? Yeah, I need somebody to help me with all this stuff. I don't know. Yeah, so Mr. Software Tester, please come over here and help me with this stuff, and they'll be really happy that you're there. So you're also helping and mentoring the rest of the team, which is also, I think,
and that is also why one of the primary skills for testers these days is coaching skills, because in the old days you had a testing department with dozens of testers all doing the same kind of test, and now we have cross-functional teams with 1 or 2 people with a quality and testing background, and they need to coach the rest of the team for testing tasks. Because one of the good things of a cross-functional team is that unlike old-fashioned agile teams, in an old-fashioned agile team, at the end of the sprint, everybody is sitting like, well, this tester is taking a long time. And in a good cross-functional team, you say, oh, there's a lot of testing tasks. Let's all jump on the testing tasks.
Yeah. Okay. So we've been talking for near an hour and a quarter, and nobody asked any questions in the chat. So if anybody wants to ask anything, now's the time.
That would be nice if you get some questions. Nice.
I have been checking it. People have been, talking about the voice model. Some couple of reactions about the voice model. But if you would like to ask us anything, something you're curious about.
And now we are all
we put them all to sleep,
for a question to pop up. What do you say?
They're all sleeping. Maybe we should be quiet now. Yeah.
Well, I don't think they're sleeping. But
how do you take the team the first step in that direction when you have a team with only developers and they don't see that ownership? Is asking Git.
Yeah. Well, thanks for the question, Gita, and nice that you're here. I think it depends a little bit on the team. One of the approaches that you can, of course, take is just have a look at something that failed and then ask them, hey guys, I see that something failed. Did you notice? Yeah, you also noticed. Oh, that's a pity. What could we do about it to first detect it more early, and even better, to prevent it? And that is the first step, to make people aware that you have quality measures that are detective, like testing, and you have preventive quality measures like using some standards or guidelines or doing reviews or in a pull request, but just starting to build that mindset. And often the best thing to start with is to show something that went wrong and discuss how we can improve that.
Yeah, by taking one mistake and building up on that one. Yeah.
That is,
I agree with you.
Because then they have a practical example of how to do that. Another thing is, I believe that many developers, basically, they do want to deliver proper quality. And so another thing you need to do is just make sure that you have the right circumstances for them to be able to do more about quality, because a lot of developers often feel stressed and boxed in by what, for example, a product owner demands, and by discussing, hey guys, it's not just that we want to write as much code as possible, we want to deliver as much business value as possible. How does this add to the business value? And then sometimes, I'm training a group of developers currently, and sometimes these developers come up with questions about quality, especially when you make them aware that it's not just about product quality, but also about process and people quality. And then they say, but actually the process doesn't work well. Let's improve the process. But we don't have time for that. And if they come with that argument, I always come with my story of the what's it called in English? An houthakker, a wood chopper?
Woodsman?
Well, somebody who chops down trees, you know, and then he's chopping down trees and it doesn't go smoothly. And then you tell them, you have to sharpen your axe. And then they say, no, I don't have time to sharpen the axe because I have to chop down trees. And that is often the point, that people don't take a moment of silence to improve. And after that, it will go much smoother.
Yeah. Interesting. You have to point out the rework, the extra effort. Dennis mentioned it. You have to, what I did. I don't want to do tomorrow what I did today. I think that's a very nice, also a nice argument. Like, because like, you know, or a week later somebody comes and we found this thing, and you go, "I did that a week ago,"
and you already forgot what you did.
Yeah.
And how it exactly worked, and what the algorithm was that you were trying to build. So you don't want to redo this. So just do it once. With a proper quality.
Yeah, and I see the remainder of Keita's question, which is, if you have a quality engineer in the team, then everybody says, oh, the quality engineer is the one who should worry about quality. And that is why I think you should not have a quality engineer in the team. Everybody in the team is supposed to be a quality engineer. Yeah? All of them are quality engineers. And they are quality engineers with different skills and different backgrounds, but together they need to deliver the right level of quality. And within Society here in the Netherlands, we have a huge discussion, which is currently, well, almost over, about who are the quality engineers. Because in the beginning, everybody was pointing at the testing department and said, the testers, they are now the quality engineers. Fancy new name. And then, well, we are the kind of people who say, no, stop. No, it's not the testers who are quality engineers. No, everybody in this building are quality engineers. And we have different skills and different possibilities. But one of the main things is that we try to be cross-functional and not just focus on one little thing on our own island, but join forces. And one of the things that is needed is that you need some more fundamental knowledge. So, for example, if new people come in our company that want to become a tester or specialized in quality and testing, still they first need to take a basic course in Java programming. Not because we want them to build Java programs, but because they need to understand what Java developers are talking about. The other way around, we try, and no, actually we don't try, we do give training courses to developers as well, where we teach them about quality in general and test design techniques more specifically, so that they can apply some things themselves, and on the other hand also understand what people with a quality and testing background are talking about. So it is also making people giving them a broader knowledge base, and still acknowledging that nobody can be good at everything. So, because in Dutch we have the saying, a sheep with 5 legs. That is somebody who could do anything, but you don't have sheep with 5 legs. But if you have a good team collaborating, then together they can pick up any task that's needed. So it is about skills for your whole team.
Okay, I just want to point out that if it's a very badly tested nuclear power station, as we mentioned at the beginning, then you will have sheep with 5 legs. So
yeah, you might. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Or you might not have any sheep at all.
Okay, and I think Git's responded a little bit there, so I just need to make some more light. She sees the point, but there's they don't know much about testing of the whole organization, so it's necessary to have somebody there that's sort of driving it. Yeah, so it's not the quality engineer, but I think Gitta might say quality coach or a quality assistant. We've heard of these models where it's
I agree with Gitta's point that if you have an immature organization and you need to skill them up with testing, then please put some experienced testers in the teams, because that's the fastest way to improve the level in the team. But keep in mind that you then need to have testers with good coaching skills, because you want to distribute all this knowledge to all the team members. But I do agree that having a skilled tester in the team is the best way to get test knowledge in the team, because if a company first fires all the testers and then expects the developers to do more testing, they will see that the developers struggle. And that is normal in the beginning, because if they have never been challenged to do testing tasks, well, they will struggle when the first time they have to do that.
Okay, right. We're getting close to the end. I'm almost sitting in the dark here, so I'm probably disappearing on the camera. Yeah? So I've got time for one more question if somebody wants to ask one, and then I'd like to have a short show the feedback form QR code at least at the end, so we can get your feedback on today's webinar. No, it's a webinar, isn't it? It's not a podcast.
Yeah, it's a webinar still.
and if you, is it necessary to have a certain level of seniority to start with quality engineering? Lucy is asking.
Well, I think it's a very nice question, Lucy, and I think it helps to have some seniority, because you need, well, I don't think it's seniority per se, but you need to have an attitude of wanting to share knowledge and conveying a message. And if you are the prototypical nerd who only talks through his keyboard, then probably that's not the best way to share the message in your team. So in that sense, you need to have a senior behavior, but it doesn't have anything to do with age or number of years in a profession, because I know some colleagues who came fresh out of university and started changing teams. But I also know examples of people that have worked here for decades and still are not able to help other people to become better. So, but a certain attitude is definitely needed.
Yeah, that's what Dennis was saying. It's a mindset. It's an attitude. Yeah, and not be frightened of change. Yeah, I think that's another thing that most teams, when we're talking to them, they say, "Oh, but this means we'll be doing things in a different way. We've been doing it like this for a long time." It's very human to react like that. That's what. It's basically our evolution is based on fear. Yeah, we're successful because we're frightened of everything. Yeah, and change mostly. Yeah, but it's quite hard.
But this point is, in my opinion, why the Agile Manifesto says we welcome change.
Yeah.
They don't say we welcome changing your mind all the time, but if something can be done in another way and that is better, then welcome the change.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay.
I maybe that's a good point. If I may make one other point, the Agile Manifesto is still a very great source of inspiration. And one thing I advise all Agile teams is every retrospective, simply take one of the 12 principles and discuss how do we apply this principle in our team, or how can we improve using this principle in our team. And if you do that every sprint, only one principle every sprint, and you have 2-week sprints, after a year you have discussed all principle at least twice, and you will see that your Agile team has become much more effective. So I please go back to the Agile Manifesto and really apply it and live it.
It'd be good if some people just opened the web page and just looked at it, because I think there's so much confusion about the Agile Manifesto because nobody looks at it often enough. Yeah, but again, I would also argue it could have been written slightly better. Things are there a little bit abstract. Yeah. So,
well, okay.
And
I see another question of Lucy.
I'll maybe answer that for Lucia, because we have two Lucias on the call. Is TMAP still applicable nowadays? Yeah, Rik made the point at the beginning. It's evolving, and it is adapting. And so, like this latest book or this latest iteration is definitely fully up to date for today's software development teams. And I think that's the advantage of the TMAP.
And the interesting thing, Phil, is that sometimes we come across organizations that are still applying a sequential approach, and some organizations for very good reasons. And then they say, oh, but we don't work DevOps, so it doesn't work. And then we say, well, look in the body of knowledge on the website, because there's still a lot of knowledge from previous books that is very well applicable if you have a traditional project. However, some things are applicable both in traditional and today's high performance projects. Because, for example, test design techniques, they have been described a couple of decades ago, and they still are applicable in the same way. Other things, however, they change. For example, the way you treat estimation and planning is definitely different in Agile than in traditional. So we have different approaches for that.
Definitely one of the reasons why I see quality engineering is so popular. You don't need to do DevOps to do quality engineering. You could do waterfall and quality engineering. It's perfect.
Oh yeah, very well.
You can use the ideas which are in the book for in any environment. Now I'm going to close up now, because I think we could be here till 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah, that's true.
I just need to do a short pitch, because I have to, and because I want to, because you've heard a lot of, for the audience, you've heard a lot of things about TMAP and quality for DevOps teams and so on. So as you know, Tesena is your partner for over 11 years in testing services, education, having a great testing career, and hopefully inspiring everybody. You can follow us on various platforms. I'm only on LinkedIn, so I don't know about any of the others. And we have two, let's say, events or courses coming up. I'm an accredited TMAP trainer, I'm proud to say. And we have our TMAP quality for cross-functional teams coming up in March. We have a 2-for-1 offer. So bring a friend for free. It's a unique opportunity to, it's a 3-day training course. We cover a lot of topics in the book, and there's plenty of space to talk about practical applications of these ideas and solve your individual problems. And then related to quality engineering, we are talking about this stop testing and start collaborating in a cross-functional team environment. We have a 1-day workshop coming up in April, and that's practicing by doing. We'll actually take you through the process of learning how to collaborate on activities better with your teammates. And as Rik said, if 1 or 2 people in the team start behaving in a different way, then you can make a significant change, or you can help change the whole team. So finally, I'd like to ask for your feedback. It's also, I think it'll be in the chat. If you could provide us some feedback on today's webinar. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, because I also like talking to Rik. I've enjoyed talking to Dennis, and I always love talking about quality engineering. So I've had a great time. I'd like to thank Rik and Dennis for giving us, in their horribly busy schedules, an hour and a half to try and maybe express our excitement about this topic, because we are very excited about it. I really do see it as a significant and positive change for everybody. I say it's more positive and more significant than AI, because it's about working better together as people, as a team, and which makes work more fun, in my opinion. Would you like to add anything as a final word, guys?
Thank you very much for attending. It was our pleasure.
It was certainly a pleasure.
I hope we inspired you, and well, good luck in applying quality engineering based on the TMAP body of knowledge.
Thank you very much, guys. Okay, thanks to everybody that joined us today. I hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully see you soon. And don't forget, we have Tesena Fest every year. And if you were there last year, you know we were only talking about quality engineering. So if you'd like some more inspiration, you have in September, our Tesena Fest. Okay, guys, thank you very much, and have a nice evening. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.